At $70 in my bank account, I knew that I could beat out anyone with $7 million.
When was the first moment where you realized you were onto something in your business?
It wasn't realizing an opportunity. It was in the moment of despair that I realized I had something. My mother and my father, they both together, they made like maybe $14,000 in an entire year. I lived in Section 8 housing. She said, "It's okay, son, we were never made to get out." She said, "We were never made to have a life outside of this. It's okay." Most people think it would be when you've discovered something innovative. But the reality is, it was when I discovered that everything could be taken from you. It was at my lowest moment that I realized I had everything.
When you're in a tough spot, you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel.
This cannot be the blueprint that I'm going to accept. It's either I'm going to deal with the cards that have been given to me, or I'm going to go all in.
And sometimes those are the best lessons.
Yeah.
They're the hardest.
They're the lessons that nobody will be able to buy.
Well, first of all, people probably know who you are because you've already been a guest on the show once. You go by Manager Jon. You help creators create amazing content. You build amazing podcast studios. You've worked with amazing brands from TikTok to sports personality consulting in their studios. You've done a lot of crazy things to brokering a KSI fight, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say that or not. And then
Yeah, you can say that.
And then you've done a lot of crazy stuff. And then you get to work with Dillon, England. I mean,
Yeah.
rest of it's getting pretty big.
I pretty much can retire now.
Yeah, mountaintop, you've made it.
Retire now.
Yeah, like what else am I missing on kind of like what you got going on? Did I kind of nail that? That's kind of like who you are, what you're doing. You have Creators Den, which is an amazing opportunity for people to learn about content. What else am I missing? You're just...
Well, I mean, I think the accolades are all really good, but I think the start is probably what's most important, because it didn't always start that way. As a matter of fact, it started pretty much the exact opposite of anything that you would probably expect in my life. And I think that goes for when you see a lot of people when they're at certain high points, right, or certain wins. We think to ourselves, oh, that's really great for them.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is it never started like that. It never started like that. And it was probably a more relatable position that I had in my life to the person that's starting out right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I think that's probably the most important part, which I think is probably the biggest gap that people are not as informed about. Because on social media, you see highlight, hit, great thing, celebration, I did this huge accomplishment and whatnot. And in most cases, people will say, oh man, that guy really blew up overnight. But like overnight was like 15, 16 years.
Yeah, we skipped the journey.
Yeah. So I think that's probably the most important aspect, because the journey and the beginning from where I started is more relatable to people where they're at right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I'd like to talk about that.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
You know, we've dived into your journey a little bit the last time you were on the show, but give me a refresher. Like, how have you gotten here?
Yeah, so just to kind of give you a little context, I did not have anything given to me in my life. And while, you know, let's start from the beginning. So I grew up in Section 8 housing. And are you familiar with Section 8 housing?
Yeah, for sure.
So Section 8 housing is income-based housing. But let me take you back to the exact moment of what it looked like. So my mother and my father, they both together, they made like maybe $14,000 in an entire year. I lived in Section 8 housing, and my mother, she was an epileptic, so she would have probably like 3 seizures per month. I don't know if you're familiar with epilepsy, but it's not it's not like an easy thing to digest.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. It's very difficult for their lives. It's very difficult to try to find work and then to maintain it. And then on top of that, you're living off disability. And so I lived with my mother in Rumen Road, which was Section 8 housing. And my father, he was manic bipolar. And so you can take whatever income out of that $14,000 and you can just like toss it to the wind because, you know, he never was really around for any sort of support for things. And I remember, let me give you another picture of Section 8 housing here of what my mother and I experienced. So I remember one day that there was like a fire, and these are conjoined buildings, right? They're conjoined buildings with like firewalls, very low income, you know, based people, very similar to people that were in my position. And I remember that there was a fire that happened and everybody gathered around outside to watch the fire burn. Mm-hmm. And, you know, just the water was billowing in and there were whispers going around like, what happened, what happened, what happened? And someone was like, oh, yeah, someone fell asleep with a cigarette and like, you know, like the cigarette caught on the mattress. Well, that was the story that was told, but the reality is they were cooking meth and one of the labs had exploded in the apartment. And so that was pretty much the environment and the blueprint for my life that I was started off with. Which is difficult when you're there because you have no idea how to get out. People look at you differently. They call you a Rumen Road kid. They go, you know, this kid's, you know, these are the ones that are in ISS, you know, they tend to get written off. And that was the beginning of my life. And I had remembered that, you know, I would always try to be something that was like seen or like to try to get out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm looking around at me and like there's house fires, there's people that are dealing drugs out of their apartment and stuff like that because they're just trying to make money off the books so that they can survive, because if they make money on the books, whatever they get granted to for Social Security gets taken away. And so there's people like selling food stamps, selling weed, cooking meth, all this other stuff. So that was my start. Yeah, that was my start. And needless to say, you probably wouldn't expect much from that person.
Yeah. What drove you to content?
So it was actually in high school. My best friend now to this day, Gary, I was in 11th grade, and this guy jumps on my back, and there's this guy following him around with a camera, and you know, I like throw him off my back, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? He's like, dude, I'm shooting a video, and I'm shooting a video called Suburban Sports. And so I was like, I don't know what that is. Why are you jumping on my back? Because like the whole goal of the video was if you jump on the back, a timer goes off to see how long you can last. And back in the early days of YouTube, if you were just doing content like that, if you were doing anything, it would stick to the wall and people would watch it.
For sure.
Because it was a blue ocean. Like there weren't
random stuff went by.
There weren't any creators. There were kids. Like I remember we had a really young following that would watch us, but we were kids still too.
Of course.
So it's like we were still having younger people or people our age follow us. And I was like, dude, well, like, can I help you? And so initially I started picking up the camera and like filming and like helping build this channel called Force 242. And you know, when you're in high school, I think our first video we had that really hit got like 3 million views, and it was a music video remake. Like it was a remix that we did. Yeah. And dude, we're running around with these SD cameras. We didn't have high tech stuff like this stuff. We had like SD cameras that we were just whatever we could get our hands on. And I remember after that 3 million viewed video happened, that's where like a lot of opportunities started coming. And I became, by default, Manager Jon, because it used to be a joke. Yeah. My friends would make fun of me because I was the only person that he trusted. And so he would say like, hey, you know, I really want to get into this thing. Can you email on my behalf for me and like represent me, but like I'll help you with the email and stuff like that. And so I would do these emails or these sponsorship calls, and dude, I didn't know a single thing what I was doing. My spelling and my grammar and my writing was terrible. I could barely read out loud, and I'm trying to do these things, right? And you're a kid. What do you know about the world?
Well, nothing.
Nothing.
But they know that. They're kids.
Yeah, and so after this 3 million viewed video that happened, we got a $7,000 check from YouTube.
That's awesome. Huge.
That's half that of what both my parents made in their entire year. And that was the first time, and by the way, we were terrible with money, and everything that we made went back into trying to be seen more and figure out this space more. So we'd like, if we got invited to like a conference like Playlist Live, or you know, these different like pop-ups, or like a trip to New York City, we're putting all that stuff back into it so that, you know, we could try to figure out what this means. Like, how do we continue to do this? Because like right now I'm living in the hood, and you have.
Well, it doesn't sound like it's a bad investment.
No. It's a great investment, because I'm like,
you're learning how to do this.
Yeah, like we're like, let's try to get out of here. And he didn't. By the way, he did not have the best upbringing. Like his father straight up abandoned him, and it was just him and his mom. And he's got some crazy stories of his own. But we were both collaboratively looking at our lives, going like, dude, how do we like break the cycle? How do we figure out what we need to do to be able to grow this? And by the way, money was probably my biggest issue when I first started something, because I didn't come from it. So I didn't understand it. I didn't understand how to grow it, how to keep it, how to treat it. And so I would just take what I knew with shooting, and I would apply it to what we were doing, and then with other people. And that was kind of the start of like unlocking that first tier and like that first layer.
When was the first moment where you realized you were onto something in your business? Like you were like, whoa, like I have something here. Like I'm actually making more money than I ever thought I'd make. The outlook is positive. Like, when was that moment when you realized you were on like a career path?
It was probably when I failed at my barbershop that I had with a partner.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah.
Did I know that?
I don't think you did. Most people don't. But the barbershop was one of the most important things in my life, because basically I started taking the skills that I had acquired and started applying them to like different business opportunities and ventures and things like that. I started taking all these things that I learned in the creator economy and like applying them in business, and I don't have to pay for it because I know how to do it.
Yep.
So I remember we started up this barbershop with this partner that I had. I'd freshly dropped out of college. College was super not for me. It was, dude, I was also homeless in college at some points in time, to where it's like, man, this is super not the route for me. And the only reason why I went was because a teacher had told me one time that, and she wasn't telling me, she was telling the entire class. She had said, most people whose parents don't do anything with their lives, their children end up going to follow in those footsteps. She wasn't talking to me, but I was in the room. But I was in the room.
She was directly
and
talking
who
to
else you talking to other than the Section 8 kid?
Yep.
And so I heard that, and I tried to push myself through college, and it just wasn't for me. And it kept bringing me back to content. And so when I dropped out of college, I started the barbershop with a partner. And I said, listen, I'll do all the marketing, all the video content, I'll promote our stuff, you do the cuts. And it was going really well. It worked out really well. We got this small barbershop onto major media outlets because we would focus on charity. And then there was like, you know, there was a huge fire that happened, and we would do free cuts for firemen. And we did a lot of really great things within our community. It was a safe haven for a lot of kids that would come into the shop. They would get their hair cut, but then I would also show them how to use the camera and like how to, you know, just do different things, because they're me. They're me. By the way, I'm still not out yet, but they're me. And I think the barbershop was a great realization to that. So you have this low point. You come up to get this idea that, okay, maybe there's something here with content. You come back to this low point because you try to do college. You try the traditional route. And It doesn't work. And then we come up to this high point with the barbershop. And we did a lot of great philanthropy things that drove revenue, drove foot traffic. And we were probably the most well-known barbershop within the area, within Lockport, because of that. And so I was like, okay, I have something here, but I didn't have the business acumen to like really, is that the right word?
Yeah, acumen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Dictionary John over here.
Yeah. I didn't have the business acumen to keep what I had built going because my partner ended up having to, he was going through a divorce at the time and he had to like sell his portion. And so we come up here, portion gets sold. He sells it to a really bad partner that ends up taking about like $10,000 worth of my assets that I had built into this shop and just driving it into the ground, reputation and everything. So now we come back down here, and it was after the barber shop that I had started this thing called Next Collective. It was a media collective of people. So during the barbershop time, and while that was kind of coming to an end, I had Next Collective. It was the first time that I had structured an offer ever to exchange specifically studio or photography for finances. And it was a terrible offer. It was so trash, dude. To really juice up the offer, I would say, hey, you get 3 photo shoots for $75.
Nice.
You can schedule them whenever you want to, but they need to be within the next month. What would happen is the people would do the first one, some of them would do the second one, but they would almost never do the third one. But that was where I first started to understand like volume to money. And so that was my first terrible offer that I put together to where things started to click. And then after the Next Collective, the barbershop was ending, and it was a slow and painful end, by the way. It was like torturous. I had a bad relationship to where I had a partner that I was a significant other that was unfaithful. And it was like the first time I had it was like a 4-month relationship. It's like the first real one. And I don't. Do you remember the first relationship you ever had?
Yeah.
What was Dillon, England for that first relationship?
Well, I mean you have to define first relationship. Like the first girl I thought I was going to marry that I looked at rings with, or the first girl in high school I dated. I mean, those are two completely different. High school. Yeah. Yeah. I mean.
That was my IQ level.
Yeah.
Of this
relationship. Okay. Yeah.
So go. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Like, she was. I grew up in a small Christian school. There were 100 kids from K4 to 12th grade total, in the whole school.
Oh my God.
The whole school, right? My dad's principal. So I grew up in the very.
Your dad was the principal?
Yeah. So I understand. I understand. By the way, you don't make that much money being a principal of a school with 100 kids, right? Yeah. Total, yeah. Right? So, but there's a girl that, this is a funny story. I've not told this before on air, but I'm not going to give names, so I guess it's fine. So.
Drop her name.
I am not dropping her name. No chance. There was my best friend at the time went to me, because I had always had the personality to talk to people. I was never afraid to talk to girls. I was never afraid to really talk to dudes. Like I just had that kind of attraction personality in high school. And it was a really small school. So everybody, right? And everyone knows you. I was the star of the basketball team, and just like that kind of, life. And he's like, hey man, there's this girl that I'd love for you to become friends with her because I like her. Could you just like get to know her and then like introduce us? Right?
Yeah, he was like making you an industry plan.
You're right. Yeah. Like using my skill sets for his end goal.
Dillon, England, the industry plan.
So I was like, sure, I'll get to know this girl, right? And I'll eventually try to like work up a way, be like, hey, you should meet my friend, right? So I started getting to know this girl, right? because it was his plan. Like I was not seeking this out, and all of a sudden I was just like, this girl's kind of cute. She's kind of fun to be around. And I remember the moment when I realized, oh shoot, I kind of like this girl. What am I gonna do? Because my buddy, I'm in reconnaissance for my buddy, you know. But now all of a sudden I'm being turned, you know. And so that was a whole. I remember like we did. I told him, it's like, hey dude, I don't think I'm gonna be able to introduce you to this girl. And then he's just like, why not? And I'm like, well, I kind of feel like I might like her a little bit. And he was my best friend. And I was like, but I said, listen, I won't move on it. I'll still introduce you, but I just want to let you know. And like, and then he was like, dude, it's fine. Like, you know, I remember to this day, we did a sleepover. I was over at his house and his grandparents lived across the way. So we walked over his grandparents. It was 2 a.m. He was still pissed at me, which rightfully so. And we were playing basketball. It was like 2 a.m. And we were just like talking about like, you know, we're best friends. So we're just hashing this out. And then I just remember being like, okay, I'm not mad at you anymore. We're good. I was like, for real? He's like, yeah, we're good. I was like, okay, awesome. And so, yeah, so that was the first relationship in high school, was because I was doing reconnaissance for my best friend, and then she turned me.
And how did that hoe break your heart?
Well, funny enough, when I went to college 2.5 years later, she started dating him.
Yo, long-term SALT mission, right? Like the movie SALT is
like I remember I get the call from him.
It's just a slow
being
grower,
like,
man.
so we just went on a date. I was like, are you kidding me? But I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
I earned it. I honestly earned it. But she's married now to a different guy, and they have kids. She has a great. She's awesome. And
wait, with him?
No, different guy.
Oh,
yeah, that lasted like a month. But she married an amazing dude, and they're living their best life, which is awesome. I love to see it. But yeah, so that was a very long story. That was my first relationship, so I do understand.
You're very gracious to your exes. You're very gracious. I don't know if I'm so gracious.
Well, yeah, I like seeing them succeed, despite me. Sometimes, there's some that haven't been so great of an ending. Right. Yeah. So don't worry. I have some.
Let's talk about those ones.
No, we're not talking about those ones. We are not talking.
The worst one?
We are not talking about those ones.
It's okay.
We are not talking about those ones.
You can be as ambiguous as you want to about it. Yeah. I'm about to tell you the one that flipped the switch for me.
Okay. Well, that's way more interesting than mine, because mine didn't flip the switch. Mine just drove me to depression.
All right.
So no, so back to your story. Not on how I screwed my best friend in high school and took his girl. That's not important. What's important is your story is how this barbershop deal was going on, bad partner screwing you out of a bunch of assets that you put in the business. At the same time, the girl that you first real relationships 4 months in cheated on you.
Yeah.
Is all coming crashing down.
So
let's set up the story.
Let me just close this loop real quick, because there wasn't one singular moment. You asked about like the singular moment that I knew that I had something. It wasn't realizing an opportunity. It was in the moment of despair that I realized I had something. So the barbershop, I love the barbershop. I love the barbershop kids. Like these were my people that I would like spend time with. Kids would come in that would get beat at home and thrown into walls, and they could reach safe haven here, and all that was kind of coming to an end. And this relationship that I was very, new to, green behind the ears, you don't know how to manage relationships, and was in emotional turmoil. And because of that, the media collective, it started to fall apart. And so I remember during all that, my vehicle had died out. I lost my vehicle. And so I had borrowed my vehicle from my father, who was, as we established, who he was.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I believe he's a great person, but I think there's things in your life that if you allow them to have power over you,
they will.
They will. And it's your... Anyway, we'll get into that, but I had borrowed my vehicle, or borrowed his vehicle from him because mine had been trashed up. Going through all this, I went back to work in a kitchen in an Italian restaurant to where the boss would like throw pans at me, tell me that like, you know, looks like you can't do anything right because you came to, you know, you weren't even able to kill yourself after certain things. Like, dude, the worst things that people could say, they say in kitchens.
Oh yeah, kitchens are wild.
Yeah. So I went back to that environment because I was used to survival.
Yep.
And so I went back to a place to where I
could survive.
And my father had been calling me, and I wasn't picking up because I was on these shifts for the kitchen.
Yep.
You know, like when you have rushes, you can't pick up. And I came home one night, went to sleep. I was gonna go back for like a night shift, like an evening shift. And I walk outside, and the vehicle's gone. And I'm freaking out because I'm like,
you have work. And
I have work. I don't have anything else other than work because I've lost everything else. And I'm freaking out. And he had a manic spiral to where he just like came, picked up the car, and took it. And I remember I was standing in that moment, and I'm in a frenzy, dude. I'm freaking out. I'm like, I'm angry. I'm pacing back and forth in Section 8 housing. I'm right back where I started. I've done all these great things, and I'm right back where I started. And I'm pissed. I'm so pissed at life. And I'm angry. And my mother is a saint because she was the only reason why I was ever able to survive to begin with. You know, she put me into a church, and she like, she took care of me, and she always made sure that we had. Right? Like, this woman is still to this day is a strong woman. I could count to you all the people that she's fed, and it's just below 50,000 this year within her life. Off of $8,000, she sees me. I'm like pacing back and forth, and she's just this very empathetic soul. She feels things. So she comes out to me, and she sees me in this frenzy, and I'm like, can you imagine the one time that you didn't have it all together? You were broken down. I want you to think of that time right now. That's where I was. And she saw me in this frenzy, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know. And she had a breaking moment because she saw me, and she saw everything that I'd done. And she had her own breaking moment because she's so empathetic. And she said these words to me because she started getting her emotions stirred up. And she said, "It's okay, son. We were never made to get out." She said, "We were never made to have a life outside of this. It's okay." And I saw a woman that had withstood everything in this life. Epilepsy, $8,000 a year income, raised this child. And I'd done great things in my life. I'd done phenomenal things in my life based off of that. And what I said to myself was, this cannot be the blueprint that I'm going to accept. I cannot accept this blueprint. And so I sat on those steps, and I said to myself, it's either I'm going to accept this, and I'm going to go on, and I'm going to, just deal with the cards that have been given to me, or I'm going to go all in. I'm going to figure this out. And so I spent every waking moment trying to figure out how I could take the knowledge that I had and get back into my purpose and get out of the kitchen and to start creating content for businesses and for figuring out how to connect money to my efforts. And so when you ask what was the singular thing that you knew that you were onto something, most people think it would be when you've discovered something innovative. But the reality is it was when I discovered that everything could be taken from you. It was at my lowest moment that I realized I had everything. And so, You know, to make a long story short, there's a lot of ups and downs in this story.
For sure.
And they didn't stop. But the will that was created in that moment surpassed anything that anybody could ever give me. At $70 in my bank account, I knew that I could beat out anyone with $7 million. Because in that moment, I had something that was given to me by my mother, which was a motivator.
Mm-hmm.
It was a why. And so I think if people are looking for the aha moment, the reality is it might not be in the brightest of moments.
Yeah.
It might be in those moments that test you.
And sometimes those are the best lessons.
Yeah.
They're the hardest.
They're the lessons that nobody will be able to buy.
Mm-hmm.
They're the lessons that are gifted to you from God through suffering to be able to propel you into something that you might have never known what your potential is without a why, without that reason.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about tough times is to one person, it's going to be a lesson, and to another person, it's what crumbles them, and they never learn it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the same person could go through the same set of experiences, and one person did not learn the lesson and did not use it as motivation, and it let them control their destiny. Like in a different world, when your mom said out of desperation, we weren't made to get out, another person could have been like, you're right. This is my life.
Yeah.
And motivation's gone. But the more powerful thing is in those moments. So if we have listeners listening and you're in that moment, people see like, oh, I saw the light at the end of the tunnel, then you weren't really in a tough spot. Like normally when you're in a tough spot, you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. You're
That's
like,
a fact.
I don't really have hope here, right? Like I don't really know what that looks like, but still choosing to use that as motivation, not choosing to use that as an excuse. And I think that's what separates the people that have chosen to make an effort to push forward. And you're right, and you said it, dude. It doesn't magically just the hill doesn't magically just go up from there. Like you know what I mean? Like it you can have this and it goes back down, but the overall trajectory will start going up with tons of. And I'm learning that myself in our own ways.
Your resilience bone is formed.
Yeah.
Some
and you
people
can't
that
be
don't-
taught.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things that can't be taught. Like my previous guest was talking to Dan. We were just talking about Kobe Bryant and just how he had that like just something in him that was almost like psychopathic of like, you will not outwork me. You will not practice more. Like you can't outwork me. And that's just something that you can't teach that. Like people that go through hard things, that gets formed in you. Like I can't teach you resilience. You have to experience that for yourself.
Yeah.
And that's a muscle that you can go to 1 million seminars and 1 million workshops but until you've experienced it yourself, that's when that muscle actually gets flexed. Because I'll tell you what, man, it's one thing to listen to motivational talks about other people that have gone through crap, but then when it happens to you, it's a whole nother muscle, right? Because I can listen to your story and be like, man, that's crazy, right? Like that's a lot. It's deep, but good for Jon. And then assume that I would have that same resilience, but you don't really know in those moments until they're here and you're like, oh, dang, this is really hard.
Let's talk about that. Let's unpack that a bit, because I also believe that within what I've created now, within branding and content, and our motto is going from unseen to unforgettable.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Right. As I'm telling you this story, you're not thinking about my story right now. And everybody has this innate pattern to think that everybody's thinking about their story as they're telling it.
Yeah.
The reality is Dillon is sitting here thinking about a moment in time that he had experienced at some point in time where he
it's called
had to have
you
a hero
resonate.
moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is that for you?
And first of all, the sign of a good storyteller is that you want the audience to resonate with what you're speaking. That means you're telling a good story. It's a good thing for the audience to see themselves in that story, right? It's funny. I started writing a book. No one knows this. And the first chapter is the opening of the book describes me on the bathroom floor at 2 a.m. throwing up for the 30th time that month. And not an exaggeration. So about a year and a half, I got stuck with chronic nausea. Year and a half ago. So for the past year and a half, the past 3 months we're on the mend. We figured some stuff out. But before that, dude, like I probably threw up almost 100 times last year. And there was a time where, I don't know, 4 months ago, before this company kind of took off, where, 2 a.m., passed out on the bathroom floor after throwing up, shivering, and it's all due to stress. Didn't know that at the time, right? We've learned that. And, that's not, dude, I'm telling you, bro, a chronic condition is debilitating. Debilitating. You want something that's going to make you fall on your knees and pray and be like, I can't do this without help. Like some sort of like an epilepsy or like I've never dealt with health issues before, right? And so I remember it was actually CreatorCon, not this past year, the year before.
Oh, that was the first time.
It was the first time that night after the CreatorCon for the first day. I went home and dry heaved. Never happened to me before. Just didn't know why.
After our first ever sit down?
Yeah. After that night, about 2 a.m., Trevor and I went and got some food after CreatorCon, and then I went home. I was like, man, I don't feel good. Just started dry heaving. And that started a process for the next year of me pretty much dry heaving every week. And we couldn't figure out why. We just had no idea why, right? It culminates to a point to where it turns into actually getting sick, turns into the point where like I can't even enjoy experiences with my family because I'm chronically nausea 24 hours a day. Like it doesn't there's no break. Anyway, so there was this moment where personal finance is a mess because our previous career did not pan out the way that we were hoping to pan out. I made a bunch of investments in the company and they did not work out. So personal finances are a mess. My son was born and his chronically nausea dad. No one really knows this. I don't just put this on hey, look at me, I have trials, right? Like everyone does. But, I'm thinking in the moment, I'm not even gonna be around for my kid. Like that's how like when it hits you hard. Like when you're late at night and you feel, you're getting sick and there's no, like we did stomach tests, brain tests. Like they thought I was celiac. I wasn't celiac. They thought I was, like I did stomach scan. Like all the stuff that should have led to an answer were dead ends. So then I was like, this is my life. Like this is just how I'm going to live my life. Like I'm not going to be able to go get ice cream with my kids, right? That's
what you thought your blueprint would be.
Yeah. And for real, like I thought moving forward, my outcome is I feel sick every day. And, struggled to have conversations, struggled. And then my body would do these like things where I'd get about 102 fever, my body would shut down, skin would hurt, throw up, be out for 48 hours. Like it happened about 5 times last year. Like just unexpected. Like my body would just shut down. So it was in one of those moments, dude, I just remember being like shivering on the next to a toilet in my basement bathroom so I wouldn't wake up the kids. Just being like trying to start this company. We were like a month and a half into this company and just no money. Like I couldn't even afford to pay my operator, right? Like, and
now you built out a whole studio.
Yeah. But then that moment, dude, I just remember being like, Lord, I need help. Like, I don't know what's going on with my body. I can't work, And so that was for me the lowest moment mentally, spiritually. And honestly, what it did for me was it just drove me to full dependence on God because I realized that I'm not enough. Like me trying as hard as I could got me to the bathroom floor.
Yeah.
For me, I was like, Lord, I actually need help. Like I need some supernatural help in my life. And so it just drove me to prayer. So I started doing these prayer walks where I walk every morning, I pray. And it was just, Lord, I can't do this without you. I need help, man. I need you to send me the right people. I need you to help me get in the right rooms. I need you to send me the right partners, business partners, the people that are going to help make an impact in the business. Would you allow me to figure out the health? And we actually figured out what happened was, so your brain is directly connected to your stomach. And your brain sends signals all throughout your body, right? So some people, when you get stressed, some people get clammy, right? They start sweating when they get really anxious, right? So anxiety shows itself in different forms for different people. Sometimes people feel like, I need to take a cigarette, right? Like whatever that is for people.
Yeah, I need some Zins.
Right, you need some Zins right now as we're talking,
Yeah.
right? Like Canada's not allowed to have those ever again. He just died. Mine, so for whatever reason, triggered with nausea. And so whenever I'd get stressed, which was every day as a business owner, there's something that going on. It was then I'd feel nauseous and it would stress me out about nausea, and there would just be this constant, endless cycle of brain being like, oops, stress, stomach being like, oh, we're gonna get sick. And then it just started this cycle. So then after a year of it just getting worse, and imagine a snowball of it just getting worse and worse and worse. So we figured out a way to break the cycle, and now we're doing way better.
Starting off with prayer walks.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my, and then fast forward, like we're building something that we think is meaningful, that is changing companies' lives. You're building something that you believe is powerful. And I believe it's powerful, and you're doing some amazing things, and you've had amazing partners, you dealt with amazing people that I also think, similar to you, that if I wouldn't have gone through those struggles, I would not be ready to run this company. Like those lowest moments taught me the lessons needed to help get this company to where it's at today. And those lows suck.
Yeah.
And we don't talk about that enough, but they're also needed.
There's a saying that somebody told me one time, which is that there's this saying that smart people learn from their own mistakes and wise people learn from the mistakes of others. And I'll tell you what, I'm by far the smartest one in the room because I make the most amount of mistakes. And, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like I think that was the biggest problem within my life is I always kept making smart people mistakes rather than just like taking wisdom and slowing down and figuring out and grooming through things, like grooming through the offer, grooming through your skill set, grooming through how you deal with partnerships, and not being afraid to seek wisdom from people that have already been there with it.
Yep.
Cause here's the thing, when you're the Section 8 kid, you gotta fight for people's perception.
Yep.
Because like in that setting, you're like, yo, no one's gonna make a fool out of me.
Yep.
You know, that's what people say. Like, yo, who are you, man? You're not gonna, who you think you are, dude? You're not gonna make a fool out of me. I'm not gonna tell you who I am. Who are you? Right? Like, and people still in the hood, like there's that trust barrier. But the reality is like, if only I would have said like, no, who are you? Let me ask you a question. I'm dealing with this thing.
And
I don't know how to do bookkeeping.
We were talking about this in the last podcast. People are way more willing to help than you think they are.
Way more willing.
Yeah.
But here's the thing though, is you got to vet if they're equipped. Because you cannot take advice from every single person. I'll tell you this right now. If you're watching this video, vet out who you take advice from, because sometimes the people within your circle will not be the people that you seek advice from. And then certain people will be. And they'll have the track record for it, and they'll create the spaces for it, and they'll answer the questions that you need in the way that you need them, not just with what the answer is. They'll like teach you where you're at. So I think wisdom is huge when you're approaching people like that. If you can create a circle for yourself, I call this the King's Table. The King's Table is, there's a set amount of seats at the King's Table. There's like the person that you go to watch what's ahead in front of you. There's the person that you go to for comfort.
Yeah.
Right? Listen, man, I just need to vent. I just got to vent for a second. And you only come to that person for that. A person that watches your back and says like, listen, I'm about to do this thing. Like, what do you think is like, are there any things that we should like clean up or take care of, right? Somebody to watch your back, watch your six. Somebody that you can talk to about your faith, right? And you can just solely focus on that. And so there's these seats that you can fill out. And one person doesn't have to fill all the seats.
Yep.
Right? You can come to someone for a very specific thing, and you're going to be able to get those answers. I think that's the best way that you filter wisdom that you get, and like the advice that you get from other people.
Yeah.
Do you have
Actually, funny enough, like the Bible talks about where there's a plurality of counselors, there's wisdom. So that's actually a biblical principle where you don't want to get all your wisdom from one person. And so it was in context, it was talking to kings. So as a king, there's wisdom in getting a multitude of counselors pouring into you instead of getting one. So that's actually a biblical principle that's taught in Kings. Yeah, exactly. in Kings 101, how to be a good king. It's funny how the podcast that I did with Daniel Russell, who's the VP of Tryon, he was saying the exact same thing. So it's funny how the conversations have the past 2 episodes, his and today.
Success has the same language.
Yeah, it's universal.
Yeah, and you can pick up whether somebody's like spewing bullshit, or if they're, I don't know if I can cuss on, but
you can cuss on this. Yeah, it's okay.
People can pick up whether you're speaking bullshit when they're actually doing success or not.
Yeah,
because it has the same.
They can sniff it a mile away.
It has the same approach.
Yep.
So when you do figure out like your cadence for success, you will see it in other places, and then that's where you know how to filter.
Yeah,
who stays and who goes.
I think the biggest lesson of success that I got, and I've learned the hard way as well, is. And we were talking about this in the last podcast, but if you always are the smartest or most driven or whatever person in the room, you're in the wrong rooms.
Yeah.
Because sure, there are rooms where you can be kind of the guy that's the mentor to the other people, like, for sure. But when you're talking about growth and taking the next step, you should feel you always want to be trying to get into the rooms that are where you want to get to. And that's where I made the mistake for the majority of my career, is I was kind of always the hot kid on the block, the young guy going through the insurance business, and I'd walk in and gravitational kind of personality and ones that people could mentor and look up to, and I would actually work down to their level.
Yeah.
That's what was happening, versus I just joined a networking group for more money than most people make, and it's not I'm wow, it's because I want to get in those rooms with the people that are like Shark Tank investors. That have sat on Shark Tank, that guy's in this networking group, right? I want to talk to them because my aspirations are that level. And if we never get into those rooms, and sometimes there's a cost to those rooms, it's not like you can always just walk in, and so you have to weigh that cost. But for me, that's been a very valuable lesson I've learned from mentors is, if you want to succeed, surround yourself by the people that have been successful. Don't always be the most successful person in your friend group or whatever, because that won't always push you.
No. As a matter of fact, it'll probably burn you out if anything.
Because they're winning.
So we talked about the terrible offer that I first had, and if we're talking about going into the wrong, not the wrong rooms, but the rooms that are uncomfortable.
Yep.
Which are the right rooms. The first time I actually started structuring and making good money was I started working for a very specific niche within the blue collar industry. And I started doing client work, and then I even absorbed 10% of a construction company, to where I did not know a single thing about roofing, exteriors, home improvement. I knew nothing about it. But I was able to take my services, and for a set amount of trade and sweat, acquire something, not necessarily because of the finances, but because okay, there's a pocket of people that are being underserved. And I think that's the biggest thing when you're looking for an offer, is find people that are underserved, that need your product, so you can have leverage. And if they have the resources, which is most times finances, if you're structuring your offer, this is how you find market fit. You find the market that's being underserved. You create the product that the market is actually needing to be able to succeed with what they're doing. And then you price it according to what the market is able to pay. Right? And so what I found was, when I stepped into construction, there are marketing budgets with allocations, And if I structure the right offer over here to be able to help them grow their brand,
slides right in,
and build and bring customers through the door, because that's what we do. If somebody asks me what we do, I say we help boring businesses leverage social media content and learn how to create content to bring customers through the door. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we're serving these people, that's the main goal. Now, on a personal brand level, it's taking them from unseen to unforgettable with their brand. That's the roadmap that we have for it. So this offer and the 3 things that we've done and we've structured has come out of looking at an underserved market. And if you're watching this, I would highly recommend that you read the book Blue Ocean Strategy, because it talks about being in competition and like fighting where everybody's offering the same product to the same type of people. It's like the red ocean. It's where the blood happens. You know, you're constantly fighting. You're churning these customers. You're like it's hard to grow there. But if you come over here and you find a market that is underserved, there's a blue ocean, because similar to what you're dealing with right now, you're getting a ton of people that are coming to you because you're offering a solution to a pain point that they've had forever and they had no idea how to solve it. And they know how to make money.
Yep.
Great. I know how to make your problem go away.
Yep.
Dillon says, I know how to make your problem go away. I'll have a structured cadence for you for your podcast. We'll produce it, edit it. I'll even introduce you to ways that you can track relationships to grow more revenue from it, because
no, you're listening to when I talk about my company.
Yeah, I know. Well, like that's the reality of a good product. A good product listens to its people versus just listening to yourself.
Here's our product. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Right. You didn't create a lot of what you're doing because you wanted to create it.
Right.
You created it because while you do have an interest in it and you do it very well, there's a need.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't create this
No,
setting.
this was not a vanity project.
It's not a vanity project.
Yeah.
And so you create it where the gap is. And anybody that's watching this, if you're trying to figure out your offer, figure out where the gap is first and where your talents and your passion collide.
Yep.
There's my good friend Christo talks about ikigai, which is the Japanese term for finding the intersection between what does the world need, what am I passionate about, and what can I get paid to do really well.
Yeah.
And the intersection between those 3 points.
And I think a lot of times people get the first 2 points and they miss on the third point, because it's like, hey, I know podcasts really well. I'm going to create a community on school. I'm going to have a bunch of moms that want to start podcasts. They're going to pay me $10 a month to be part of my community. It's like, okay, the volume that you would have to do to make any type of real money through helping moms start podcasts, which is, again, noble cause, awesome. If you could figure out that business plan, that's great. But like, you could have the first 2, you have the skill set and the passion for it. But if the people don't have the money to pay for it, then it's not a complete product.
Yeah.
And I think that's where people mess up, is like, well, I have a passion for this thing. There's a need for this thing. Mm-hmm. But is there money in that market for that thing that you're offering? And that's the most important. That was the most important pivot for us, was jumping from like, oh, I feel like I could do podcast consulting, to, oh, no, we're B2B.
Yeah.
Like, we're a B2B podcast agency, because there was a need, we had a skill set, there's also money to pay for it. And kind of like what you're saying with construction, you're like, oh, there's a marketing budget, right? They can allocate it towards us. I think people forget about, they get so wrapped up in their idea that they're really excited about their product that you have to make sure that there's money on the other side.
Yeah.
For it. Because you could even solve the best problem in the world. Like, I could solve the problem for moms wanting to start podcasts, but they don't have a couple grand a month to afford a team to be able to run their show, right?
Or if you did the low ticket, understand the purpose for it.
And understand the volume that you're going to have to do. Alex Hormozi says it best. He's one of, like, I jokingly say he's who Grant Cardone thinks he is, but not a big Grant Cardone. But anyway, Alex, I love Alex. And he's like, businesses die in the middle. You either need to create a low ticket offer and do an unbelievable amount of volume, or a high ticket offer and lower volume. But when you try to serve both, you can't serve both early on in business. And that's where we kind of, I think we're trying to. I'm like, well, what? I can maybe create a community over here. Then I think I could do this over here. And I think I could do this over here. Mm-hmm. And early on in business is my recommendation. You can agree or disagree, but pick one, go all in. In that, are you a low ticket with high volume or high ticket with low volume? Just pick one and really dive into that. And when we did that, that's what helped us a ton. Was when we did, and we didn't even really know who we were for the first 3 months. Like sometimes you have to define it, write it on paper. My buddy Mike Gurley, he's an EOS implementer. He's like, if you don't write it down, it doesn't exist. So if you haven't written down exactly who you're serving, who your customer is, what your ID, like if you haven't written all of that stuff down on paper and you can show me, this is our ideal client, this is what we're charging, this is why we're charging it, this is the problem we solve, and it's not even written down, you don't have a company yet.
Yeah.
And that was the best advice. And it took me like 2 or 3 months of like intaking as much information as I can until we like kind of figured out our niche. And the funny thing is like we're a niche on a niche on a niche on a niche. And it's a multi-million-dollar niche. And so you can start a company within a niche that's within a niche that could be $1 million idea. Like dude, the other day I was talking to somebody, they were like, it's like Shopify, it had something to do with like the connection between distributors and creators on Shopify. And it was like the software that allows that connection to happen. And then they have like the patent for or whatever. They have that like that. And it's a like $100 million business for this random code of software that allows this connection to happen. And you talk about a niche business.
Yeah, it's
right?
It's like the guy that creates the bolt on your car.
Right. Like
nobody
knows about it, but that guy's a billionaire.
Yeah.
But like what you're saying earlier, there's a need that you solve, and there's money to fund that as well. And I think that's that's a very key takeaway that I have from what you were saying.
And I think that's the biggest thing that ended up connecting me further to be able to finances to grow finances, because that was the biggest gap for me.
Yeah.
Right? I knew how to connect with people. I knew how to shoot. I knew how to do the relationships. I knew how to get in the right rooms. Like those rooms took me all the way international, and even then I still didn't understand my offer and my structure. But to your point, my offer even still started off broad, to where I was doing like, okay, I'll just shoot brand videos or I'll shoot content for you. Mm-hmm. And then it got very specific to, it's like, we teach people how to do content. We build studios. We do YouTube full stack. That's it.
And by the way, you don't build studios for $500.
Yes.
Like so even within what you specifically do, there's a specific target market, because there's a level of quality that you want done for your work. There's a level of expertise and professionalism. So you're not going to take someone that has a $500 budget. You're like, hey, I'm sorry, here's some best practices. Here's a YouTube video you can watch, but you're not an ideal client for us. That's okay.
I even ended up cutting the relationship with TikTok from that, because we did well over 6 figures through a TikTok contract, and then when the contract slowly started trimming down, it was because they were like, well, maybe we could like make this more lean.
Put an iPhone on a ring light.
Yeah, maybe we can make this more lean. And I'm like, eventually I stopped and I said, listen, this isn't going to be the right fit for you.
Yeah.
But we did a lot of great things. I mean, they brought, me out to like their headquarters to coach people, and I still have relationships with those creators, and I'm still helping them, through us doing our YouTube and stuff like that. We're still on the TikTok like official page for YouTube. But I think the biggest thing you can take away from that is understanding your value, because when you first start out, you charge a low value to be able to win. Mm-hmm. Right? For like, just
give me a chance.
It's the
give me a chance pricing.
The give me a chance pricing. But the give me a chance pricing never factors in the quality of your value.
Yep.
And if you're starting out and you don't have the skill set yet, that's not a bad strategy to build your skill set.
Yep.
But at some point in time, you have to say, this price will no longer be able to serve me or what I want to build toward.
Or serve the customer.
Because
the thing that they need, or whoever we're talking to on the ether of the internet, like, let's say you're charging something that's $500 a month and you're like razor thin, right? What could you do for that customer if you were charging them $10,000 a month? Like just
what's the ability?
Yeah, just think of how much more you could give to that client, how much better you could do your job, how much better your work would be if you didn't have financial stress at home. You had the ability to hire the top level people that you needed to hire. You had the ability to source sometimes we think, oh, it's best for my client to get them to pay as cheap as possible. But that's not always the case, because we're actually, if we lowball our client and we lowball them the work we can do for them, they're at a loss, and they'd be better off paying 10 grand to get 10 grand worth of value. You know what I mean? And so that's something that through coaches and Dan, like that's a lesson that I think a lot of people need to learn when it comes to pricing is think through that. Like, how much better could you be at your job?
How much better
if you charge the rate that one of I'm working through the book called Offers by Alex Hormozi. It's the best book I've ever read in my life. It's like life-changing for us. But for him, he's like, how do you make an unreasonable amount of profit while also offering an unreasonable amount of value? Mm-hmm. Like, that's the goal. It's not to make an unreasonable amount of profit with a crappy product.
Yeah.
It's how do you just offer an unreasonable amount of value while also making an unreasonable amount of profit? Because that's where you can change your family's life, your employee's life. You can employ people. Dude, employing people, like, this, it's stressful. But when you can be like, look, families rely on me. Like, that's an empowering thing, very stressful thing. But that's where charging the right number matters, because then the people that are relying on you, their kids are relying on you, you can actually afford to keep them and afford to give them a job and afford to pay them well.
Yeah.
Like, that's why pricing, this conversation of pricing matters so much. But if you're always skimping down on price, your quality of work's not going to be great. You can't employ as many people. You can't do the work that you should do at the level that you should do it. And if you always make it about price, then, if you're always doing the cheapest, you're just going to lose out.
Here's the thing too, is high profile clients, they sniff out a bad offer.
Yeah.
And so a high profile client generally sometimes most times has an idea of what something should cost based off the market conditions that they've allocated toward it. And so if you have a $100 million company that comes to you and you offer a $500 product, they're going to go, oh, this guy actually can't deliver what I'm looking for at the level that I'm looking for it.
Yep.
Because it's way too low.
Yep. Yeah, there's a bit of credibility that comes with a high price, just baked in. It's like an assumed, like, oh, if this person's going to charge me this, they're either just insane or they're good at their job.
Yeah.
I'll
give you a quick example. So Ali Abdal, Ali Abdal? So I saw this offer that he was doing. He was like $69 for these like thumbnail templates. And I was like, oh, this is super cheap. Let me see what this is about. I went to buy it because it was so cheap. And as I open it up, I go, this is trash. I literally just bought garbage.
Yep.
And I'm never going to buy anything else from him.
Yep.
And I'm looking at it and I'm going like, this is literally multiple photos of him doing this with different like Canva icons around it. I was like, he got me. And I was like, but he'll never get me again.
Right.
But see, here's the thing. If he had offered a $10,000 product, which I have bought like over 30 grand worth of training from multiple organizations at $10,000. If he had offered something at 10,000, I would go, oh, he's about to give me something that
might make me 100 grand.
Yes, right. Exactly.
Yep.
I had a training that I paid for. Omar El-Takari he used to be in Think Media and now he has the video department.
Okay.
So he had a training for like $3 grand. I made 10x that investment that I paid for his training, and it wasn't because of his training. He had said in some of his calls that he does studio builds. And he showed, like, he was like, yeah, we just did this like studio dial-in a day and stuff like that. I was listening. I said, interesting. And then I had called him. I called him, via Instagram, and we were just like talking and stuff like that. And I was like, can you tell me more about that? Like, what, how did you go about like structuring this and charging? And then what do you actually offer for them? And he's like, oh, well, they can buy the equipment or we'll buy it and stuff like that. And we'll just like ship it to them. And he was like, the labor is normally like a flat fee or something. And I was looking at the setups that he was doing. And as I was listening to him talk, I was like, this is a simple enough structure. I said, there's more. You're not telling me everything, because why would you? But ultimately, I looked at his product and I went, I think I can do this better than you. And so I took my $3,000 investment, and I've made over $300,000 from just integrating that product and doing it better alone. Totally worth the investment.
Yep.
So,
and sometimes it's just the person you might meet at a thing, and sometimes it's not always the training, but you just
sometimes it's actually pulling out. I will pay for someone's training to pull out and see how they're doing the training.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
I forget the gentleman's name, but he had bought like a $14,000 ticket to a Tony Robbins like thing.
Tony Robbins.
Yeah. And when he gets there, he's with like his COO or whatever it is. Forgive me, I can't remember. But he gets there, and like within the first 7 minutes, he goes, "Okay, I'm good." He's like, "What do you mean you're good?" He's like, "I got everything that I need to see. I wanted to see how he did the music, see how he got the energy out, and see how he did all this other stuff. I'm good." Yeah. And then they left.
That's crazy.
So it's like your offers that you purchase as well are ways that, like, always be thinking not so much about the immediate, but about like the big scale picture of how things are done.
Yeah. Because
at some point in time, they have found like a gap. And if you can provide your audience or your people with that value, you can win.
Yeah. I'm a big relationships guy. Like, I'll pay money to get, because I'm like, if I go pay, let's say, like, I'll make up a number. Like, I spent $2,500 at an event that I was at last week just for the ticket. And then, but it was probably like $4,000 investment total to be at this 2-day event. And you're like, well, that's a lot of money for an event. I'm like, yeah, it is. But I went to that event knowing that everyone else there also paid that same money for the event. So there's a reason that they paid money for that event. So either that they're doing well, they want to learn more, whether they're hungry, looking to meet other people, whether they're looking for partners, looking for clients. Like, there's a reason why someone would drop $5,000 for an event. And so I went, and we're going to land at least 3 clients from the trip, which is going to 20x, 15x my investment, whatever. The trainings were great. They were cool. But that's not the most thing. I left with relationships.
Yeah, you essentially paid for relationships.
Yeah, I paid for lead acquisition.
Yeah, but here's the thing: those relationships will create dividends.
Yeah, and those relationships could create more opportunities. Those create more, like, there's a chance that I get 3 clients, and then they all refer me 3 clients, and they refer me 3 clients, and they refer me 3 clients, and the next thing you know, a $5,000 investment is a $250,000
$3,000 training turned out to be a $300,000.
But to I think your point, my point is sometimes it's like people, I see this all the time on Instagram comments. They're like, why would you spend $10,000 to show up to an Alex Hormozy thing? And I'm like, you don't have to act like Alex. That's fine. You don't have to. But it's not about that. It's about you just got in the room with 30 other people that are willing to spend that type of money to improve their company.
Yeah, how much are they going to be able to spend with you?
Right.
When you solve their problem. Right. And they step up to the mic and go, oh, I really have a content volume issue.
That's what.
Oh, my name's Dillon. I have a content volume solution.
I got an answer for you.
I have a content.
Why do you think people go to Shark Tank?
Yeah.
Like, my favorite people on Shark Tank are the ones that walk in and they're like, oh, I don't need your money. I just needed this 60-second.
Yeah,
for the world.
I needed the clip to run for the ad.
That's it, dude.
Yeah.
It's like, we're good. We don't need $100,000 for 30% of our company, because like, they understand marketing. They understand even just getting in the room with those sharks for 60 seconds and building somewhat of rapport, because now those sharks even know you exist. They didn't know you even existed earlier. Like, that's worth something.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. For me, man, like, back to, I'll put this back circle. You were, and then we'll wrap up. You were telling me when you first started your guys' YouTube channel, you got the $7,000 check. You guys were like bad with money, and you were trying to reinvest it and learn more. I'm like, I don't think that's a bad investment. I think that that's how you grow. And I think sometimes the worst investment you can do is just pull it all out and not invest in any type of, but it's scary, dude. I'll tell you.
In those moments, man, there were some days where I wish my bank account didn't go negative, and we put that in there. Yeah,
but look at you now.
No, of course.
Like, that's kind of how
but me then, I would have probably cried less.
Me too.
But the reality is that if you're watching this, to kind of give like a wrap-up conclusion here. If you're watching this and you are trying to figure out the blueprint for yourself, here are the immediate steps that you need to do. Number one, you need to have a signal. I call it SIA, S-I-A. You need to have the signal of letting people know what you do and how you do it. Within that signal, you need to be very clear onto what you offer and how you offer it. And then you need to be able to get to work. So like initiation. So like honestly, spend as much time learning the skill to be able to demand the prices that you require to be able to serve people at high levels. And then A is affiliates. Find people that you can affiliate with that are perfectly in line with where you're going, what you're doing, that might even fill a gap with you, and that you can serve at a very high level. That will also be able to refer you to other people. That is how you can do anything that you structure without any money.
What a great close.
That's it.
That was it.
I'm Manager Jon, and you're watching the Dillon England Show.
Like, comment, subscribe, share with a friend.
Yeah.
Follow Manager Jon on socials.
Yeah. Manager
Where can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, Manager Jon for everything. You can go to YouTube and go watch Manager Jon if you want to see some of the builds that we do, and be able to figure out what gear to use within your process. On my socials, I do a lot of personal branding and helping like creators as well, just because I'm always looking for the next person that was me.
Yeah.
If you had a moment to where you were resonating with any one of these singular things that we were talking about, whether it's trying to figure out offer clarity or the different types of investments or the next steps that you need to make, or even just share where you're currently at right now, drop a comment into the comment section below. We read every single comment. We respond to every single comment. So make sure that you do that. And above all else, majority of you that are probably watching this aren't subscribed. So I want to take a moment to invite you to subscribe to the Dillon England Show, where he is giving constant value, dropping information, a diverse amount of information.
Yeah.
Right.
Banger guests. Incredible. Listen, we interview unreasonably successful people to inspire the next generation of entrepreneurs. That's why this show exists. And not even the next generation of dreamers, man. Just the next generation of people that, kind of what you said earlier, like wise people learn from other people's lessons. It's like, bro, podcast, what a great way to hear those stories.
Easy.
That's why this show exists. So appreciate that shout out. Like, comment, subscribe, share with a friend, share with your mom, listen to it on a drive, a run, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.